we've got quite a few things going on. The washer, my son's mowing the lawn, my littles are supposed to be tidying up. It's Monday. Let's get into this week. We're gonna try to prep a few things in order to make this week in particular go a little easier. There goes my water kettle. Because this is a busy week for us. For a lot of you, you've already probably done Vacation Bible School if you do that, VBS. But this week, upcoming week, is our week, and my littles are going and I'm volunteering, and so it's going to be a full week. And then we also have our regular classes and obligations that we have already committed to. So we're going to try, Lord willing, to do all the things, but also get some meals and components prepped to make our week kind of go a little bit easier, hopefully, right? So to start, I've got the 2 bread machines out. We're gonna get 2 loaves of bread going, and then we're gonna keep going and see what else we can get done today. I take out the 2 machines that we have, and we use the 2 a lot because if I got all the ingredients out, might as well get the loaves made. It's kind of like double batching, but bread-wise, or you know what I'm trying to say. My washer is kicking in full force, getting that Fly Lady morning routine done. So let's get this bread machine, well, both these bread machines I purchased used. This one was from thrift store. My other one was like off of an online group. But this bread recipe is what I was trying to say. I've used multiple times here on the channel. So I will try to link it down below. Remember to put it down below for you if you want a bread recipe, but we use this one all the time, works really well. I like to just use the machines to make the dough, and then I will bake it in the oven. I'm gonna try to get it in the oven before it gets too hot. Okay, I didn't think this all the way through because now I'm battling the dryer. I switched loads. It took a laundry folding break, and the bread machines too. So I apologize for the background noise, but here we go. I also remembered to put an apron on because I always forget. So I think what I want to do next is get breakfast burritos prepped. Like I said, we are having a busy week and we have to get out of the house earlier than we normally do, and so that's gonna be fun. But let's do the breakfast burritos, and then I'm also gonna make some breakfast cookies. I have some really ripe bananas. They're going super fast because it's been so warm. I think I call them breakfast cookies. I know that I mentioned this in another video, but really they're snack cookies. They can have any time. So I'm gonna make breakfast burritos. I already have a dozen Grinch, what we call Grinch muffins, but are our green smoothie muffins, done in the freezer, so they can switch back and forth between those 2 things for morning breakfast. And I always have, or I try to always have yogurt on hand, Greek yogurt, and granola. I'll have to check if we need more granola, but I think we might be okay. So onto the breakfast burritos. Really simple. I think I'm just gonna make them egg and cheese and hot dogs. I think that's what is, let's check to see if they defrosted last night. Yeah, we're good. So I don't know if this is a weird thing for y'all. We've made it on the channel before, but weenie and eggs, or hot dog and eggs, was a kind of staple almost growing up. It was something we had often, and it's something that all 3 of my kids will eat. They'll all eat bacon as well, but I didn't want to defrost bacon, cook bacon, because when I do that, half the bacon tends to go missing before I can get it in the recipe. So this was just the easiest route to do. So I'm gonna just use, I think, half of it, and then maybe we can have hot dogs like on the weekend or something, or even for dinner one night if we need to. But I'm gonna cook up half of this, a bunch of eggs and egg whites, and then just get them wrapped in tortillas. Just put a little coconut oil in here, and then I'm gonna put all of these sliced hot dogs in. What's half of that pack? So I just cut them in half, and then I sliced them up this way. And I'm gonna let those cook a little bit before I add in eggs and egg whites. While that's going back there, I've got a bowl out, and I'm gonna start getting some of these bananas smashed up. So I've got 3 that are super ripe. At this point, I know people are like, oh my gosh, just toss them. But no, don't toss them. They're super sweet, and you don't have to waste it. You could toss them in the freezer, and they will make super sweet smoothies. We like to use frozen fruit in our smoothies in place of ice, and then you're not watering it down. But for now, I'm gonna use all 3 of these, and then I've got a couple more sitting there, so I may use a couple of those too to make just a couple of batches of these breakfast cookies, breakfast slash snack cookies to have on hand, because you can make these and freeze them, and you know, it's set, and you have homemade snacks or breakfast ready to go, and that's so helpful, I find. If you ever get a little eggshell in there as well, pick it out with the other part of your eggshell, because it attracts, and then you're not chasing it all around the pan. So I'm just keeping an eye on the eggs behind me, and I grabbed my oats out and I'm gonna pour that in. I'm just gonna kind of eyeball it and get that consistency going. And then I think we'll make maybe 2 different kinds of cookies. 2 different, not 4, 2 different kinds of cookies there. Let me get a scoopy thingy, also known as a measuring spoon, or measuring cup. And I've made these before on the channel, these breakfast cookies, but typically it is 1 large banana to 1 cup of oats, I think. But I just kind of eyeball it now to see the consistency that we want and go from there, because it's going to depend how much you're smushing your bananas and how much mush you're getting from that. Also, what kind of toppings you're going to mix in there. Sometimes if you put powdered protein or powdered peanut butter, it'll soak up some of the banana, and so you won't need as much oats. It just depends on your preference, I guess. The eggs are done, so I'm letting them cool behind me, and I'm just gonna kind of separate the dough. I'm gonna just kind of separate this half-ish. So I'll do 1 batch, I think maybe, I'm thinking peanut butter and chocolate chip, and the other half chocolate chip and raisins. I also want to make some meal preps for my husband, or at least a couple of lunches for him. So I have a sweet potato here, and I know I have a pound of ground beef in the fridge that I'm going to cook up. So I'm going to wash this, chop this, transfer the egg and hot dogs into another bowl. Yes, I'm kind of dirtying another one, but I don't want to take another pan out for my hubby, so I can start cooking the sweet potatoes in there. So let me wash this, get that going, and then we'll start wrapping breakfast burritos too. The cookies are in the oven. You bake at 350 for about 10 minutes. Take a look at it, 10 to 15 minutes, depending on, you know, how crispy and stuff you want them. So I'm gonna get that. We're gonna keep trucking along. I had to stop, take a phone call, and do a couple other mom things, but stuff's getting done, and that's good. bread is done, so, well, the dough. We're gonna let that rise while I finish cooking this and wrap the burritos. Also, just a floating head, or just a floating body here. But also, the cookies are done. I still have them in here, so I've got to find a place to find for them to cool somewhere. I was gonna put cheese in here as well, but I think I'm gonna leave it without cheese because one of my kiddos is lactose intolerant and one I'm trying to wean off dairy. It's kind of a mix. So I think I'm just gonna do the hot dog and eggs and wrap them, and they can put, well, my oldest can put hot sauce on it if he wants, and the littles if they want some more flavoring, and we can figure it out that day. But, or tomatoes maybe would be good for the littles. Anyways, I'm just gonna wrap them like this. I'm not the biggest fan of sweet potatoes, but these smell so good. So that's done. I'm gonna go ahead and put the meat. This is just ground beef. I'm gonna toss that in too. And then I have a tiny bit of frozen kale. I'm gonna put that in as well. And then once this cools, I'll just put it into a couple of meal prep containers for him. This is at least 2 lunches for him. And we'll put it in his lunch rotation. I have a couple of videos where I show how we I'll take leftovers and make it into meal prep and things like that. And then I have full on like meal prep lunches on the channel here as well. But I like to make them and then we'll put them in the freezer and rotate through them so it doesn't feel like if they're leftovers, he's not constantly eating the same thing, but then he can kind of rotate through some meals. So I've got quite a few jars and things on the table here from meal prep, from this prep. So I'm gonna get the saran wrap or the plastic wrap and start putting some of these jars back too, because it's in the same area in the pantry. This was my kids' breakfast. There was muffins in here and they just left it on the edge there. Mom won't notice. So get that in the sink. For the burritos, if you're gonna use them, they'll probably stay in the fridge for a few days, but I'm gonna go ahead and pop them in the freezer and then take them out the night before just in case the kids decide to have something different. I'm gonna wrap them in plastic. Normally I wouldn't. I would, what you could do, especially if you were going to keep them in the fridge, is wrap them in like a paper towel or a napkin, a paper napkin, and then wrap it in foil and then remove the foil before you warm it up. You could warm it up. If you use microwave, you could do it in the microwave. You could pop it. We have a toaster oven / air fryer, so we'll probably use that. You could probably even pop them on a baking dish and warm them in the oven if you wanted to. You can make some like breakfast wet burritos and put them in the baking dish and then put some put enchilada sauce over it and put them in the oven. That would be tasty. I think my husband would really like that. Maybe we'll plan to do that for a weekend or something for him. But those are just a couple of different options. And then of course you just have them like this. So my youngest actually thought this was going to be lunch today and was excited, but I had to break it to him that this is going to be for later this week, but something to look forward to. So since we are going to put these in the freezer, I'm going to wrap them, continue wrapping in the plastic, and then I'm going to give them one more, I might do one more wrap with foil and put them all in a freezer bag. So we ended up getting 7 breakfast burritos done from those eggs. Of course, it's going to just vary how much you put in there. If you added some veggies in there, you'd probably get more. I think what I'll do is, there go. I wrapped two to a foil for this one because I did such a huge foil wrap. I was able to get him 2 whole skillets, but then I felt like this wasn't enough for 1 whole one, so I put it in the separated container, and maybe I'll fill this side with rice. Oh, maybe what we could do is rice and some like mixed veggies, so he feels like he's getting not too many carbs, but he's also getting some veg in there. So I think that's what we'll do. Let me see if I have any rice already cooked. Sometimes we like to add turmeric to the rice. I don't know that it's enough to like make any health benefits. Hopefully it is, but it also turns the rice a really pretty color, and sometimes my kids will eat it better. They call it golden rice. It's another way to get them to eat. This is just a cup of brown rice, a cup of quinoa, and then throw it in here. And I actually just used up what was left in our quinoa jar here, but knowing that it was going to be way too much for just my husband's lunch, but it will be some for later this week, so more prep done. I love my little kitchen gadgets. I need a new rice cooker, like a bigger one, but we haven't found one at the thrift shops for a good price, and I haven't pulled the plug to buy a new one, but I digress. Let's keep going. I'm gonna make 4 meals total, but they're just gonna be 2 different meals, so I'm gonna double up on them. We're gonna make sweet and sour meatballs, and then we're also gonna make chicken fajitas. These are the simplest, or 2 of the simplest meals that I like to make, and then that way we can have this ready to just toss in and either put in the Instant Pot. Both will cook in the Instant Pot or your slow cooker, so that's perfect. I love to buy the meatballs from Costco because it comes in this huge package, but I also have done this with homemade meatballs. If you want to lighten up, you can get, I know Walmart usually carries like a brand with turkey meatballs, so you could do that. Do whatever is comfortable for you and your family. Okay, so I have about 1.5 pounds of meatballs in each bag. I have a can of pineapple. I'm gonna split it as close as I can, half in each bag. I also have a bag of diced onion here. I did this in another prep where we just brought home a pack of onions and I put them in the food processor and diced it up and then froze them in here. And I'm just gonna split this as close as I can in half again and split it between the 2 bags. The recipe I'm using calls for half a cup of ketchup, but I just kind of eyeball it by now. Some apple cider vinegar. Again, I'm just eyeballing, so if you want to be exact, I'll try to look for one. I think the recipe that I'm using is a paid subscription one, so I'll try to find something similar and then also give you the link to the subscription if you want this exact one. Soy sauce. We use liquid aminos instead of soy sauce, but you can use coconut aminos, low sodium soy sauce, full sodium soy sauce, whatever is comfortable for your family. And then it says half a cup of brown sugar. We're not nearly going to use that. We're going to just do a couple. Oh, this brown sugar is already really hard. So I'd probably just put in a couple of tablespoons there of brown sugar. And then I have a couple of bags here that I vacuumed seal, I think, I don't know how long ago. Anyways, I vacuum sealed some bell peppers we had and put them in the freezer. So I'm gonna pull up those in as well. That's it for this recipe. And then we'll just do the chicken fajitas, which is even simpler than this. Okay, for the chicken fajitas, like I said, couldn't be simpler. You can buy bell peppers and onions and dice it up yourself, or you can take the easy route and just get, this is an onion pepper blend that I purchased from, this one's from our local Kroger. We've also gotten it from Walmart. So I'm just gonna take this bag. It is a smaller one, but that's okay. I'm gonna split it in half between the 2 bags. I also have some dehydrated mushroom pieces and stems. When we used up our mushrooms, I took what was left of them. We did like our own homemade mushroom. There's not much, we're gonna toss the rest in there. Mushroom caps, and then I just cut up what was left and put it on the dehydrator, and then we just had some dried ones. So I'm gonna throw that in here as well. I also have some homemade fajita seasoning. You don't have to do homemade. You can buy fajita seasoning as well, but since I like to make our pantry staples when we can, use the rest of that and put that in there. And then I'm gonna put a pound of, well, a little more than a pound, this chicken thighs and chicken breasts. So I'm gonna do a mix of them. But this can be used not just for fajitas, so you can make your chicken fajitas, like I said, it can go in the slow cooker or it can go in the Instant Pot, but you can also use it over nachos, so put it over your tortilla chips and some cheese. We have used it in sandwich rolls and made like fake Philly chicken subs. So we'll cook it up and then put like a slice of provolone cheese in it in the sandwich roll and made sandwiches out of them. Or of course, like I said, just serve them up with tortillas and some rice and beans. But depending on how much you make and how much your family eats, you may be able to get like one meal. One bag could make 2 meals for you or something like that. So these are done too. I'm gonna tidy up a little bit here. My bread is still rising. I just let it rise for as long as I was going here because one day I think we left it, we took off for the day and I forgot that we had made bread dough. It was a last minute trip we decided to take. We were gone for hours. When I came back, I was like, well, let's pop it in anyways and see how it comes out. It came out to be one of the softest breads we've ever made. So I just kind of let it go until I find a good rhythm in the day, and then I'll pop them in the oven at 350 for about 30 minutes. I think our rice is done too. So I'm gonna tidy up and then I'll show you everything that's been done this morning-ish, because we're nearing into lunchtime already. All right, so here is what we've gotten done. We did a little over 2 dozen, or yeah, 2 dozen cookies. I think this tray has 13, this has a dozen. We've gotten 4 freezer meals, 2 sweet and sour meatballs, 2 chicken fajitas, a whole bowl of rice that once it cools will go in the fridge and be ready. The way that I reheat that up for dinner is just add a little water into my pan and then put it on the stove top and put the rice in there and reheat it that way. Of course, if you do the microwave, you could do it in there too. Breakfast burritos, we've got 7 breakfast burritos down. We've got 3 lunches for my husband. Once this rice cools, I will add in some mixed veggies as well for him here. And then these are just the skillet ones. And then 2 loaves of bread that are gonna go in the oven as soon as it beeps. So I'm gonna just tidy up the dishes. I was kind of cleaning as I went, but I have a few more, two pans that I used, and then we get this in the freezer. I'll package these up. I'm gonna put these cookies on the, they're cooled now, so I'm gonna put them in the freezer on the silicone liners and let them kind of flash freeze like that. I know technically it's not cold enough for our home freezers to flash freeze, but it'll freeze individually, and then that way I can put them in a Ziploc baggie and then maybe parchment paper in between them so that we can just grab a couple as we need them. But I think we're off to a good start for the week. Probably a few other days in the month as well. Thanks so much for hanging out with me and getting this done. I really appreciate you taking your time out and spending it here with me. And of course, as always, if you don't know or you just need to be reminded, may be the one to tell you that you are deeply and truly loved and so, so appreciated. Thanks again for watching.